One of the most talked about races in the country, as you prepare to vote on November 6th, because I have total faith in you, and I know you will, is our own governor's race. And Governor Rauner is here this morning. Again, let me just start with this. I appreciate the access to the show. We have invited J.B. Pritzker, and they do not respond, so I will leave it at that. How are you?
I'm terrific. How are you doing, Steve?
I am doing fine. Thanks for coming in.
Great. No, great to be with you.
Basic question right out of the gate. Do you have any money left to spend on this campaign?
Have some. I am being outspent about 4 or 5 to 1 right now, but we've got some, and we're working hard to get our message out there.
I'm just wondering, at some point, I mean, you've done very well in life, and congratulations. Yeah. But at some point, do you sit down and go, how much are we doing here?
Well, this is a labor of love, Steve. All I care is that we save our state. That's all that matters to me, and it's an opportunity for me to give back. That's the reason I was honored to answer the call when I was asked to run for governor 6 years ago, and I regard it as a privilege. It's a humbling honor, and my wife and I are all in. We're doing everything we can to save our state and create a better future for our children and our grandchildren.
Mr. Madigan can block anything he wants. That's been the problem for these 4 years. How's
hustle? And now we can make incremental change, and we don't have to have big fights or impasses. So I'm optimistic we can make steps every month, every year, improving the future.
One of the commercials that runs incessantly is the accusation that you let $1 billion be wasted because you were too stubborn to agree on any sort of compromise on a budget. What's your response to that?
It's ridiculous. It's all political spin. The reality is proposed all kinds of compromises and much bigger compromises than that. The simple truth is that the speaker had a super majority during most of the budget impasse. He could have passed any budget he wanted at any time. Mm-hmm. He made it clear in 2015 that his preference was no reforms, no changes whatsoever, and to have the income tax go back up to, as he said, go back up to 5%, and then we'll go from there, I think was the exact quote. And that's unfortunately that's what he achieved. And the reality is we can't solve our problems with tax hikes. We've got to do it through economic growth and reforms of government. And that's
we've tried it before. We've tried to tax our way out of this, and I want to get some other tax stuff in here in a second. But again, just the basic question is, how's it going to be different this time?
Yeah. This is the critical issue. Now that we have a balanced budget, the first true balanced budget in many, many years and on time, now the changes can be incremental. No reason for impasses, no reason for big changes. Now we got $500 million in pension reform last year. Now I want to get another $500 million this year. We got $300 million in Medicaid savings last year. Now I want to get $500 million this year. Now we can gradually make steps of improvement every year. That was so tough when we were running a $3 billion deficit when I first became governor.
Governor Rauner, there's a lot made in this campaign, especially on commercials, about raising taxes, and a lot of Republican candidates talking about Democrats are going to raise taxes. Democrats will say it's less of a tax increase and more of tax reform, talking about a graduated income tax plan here in the state of Illinois. You've been against that idea. This would be that the 1% or the rich would pay their fair share, using the words of Democrats. What is your take on a graduated income tax, and do we need tax reform in the state of Illinois?
So, simple fact, we cannot raise taxes in the state of Illinois again without any reforms. And my opponent, my challenger, and the majority in the General Assembly has been advocating for an income tax increase. They know that the concept of a graduated income tax is popular. It's very popular to say, hey, let's just tax rich people. They got to pay more. That's popular, but you can look around the country. And to me, the best example is New Jersey. They've already got a high graduated income tax. They already have very high property taxes like us. They can't pay their pensions. They can't balance their budget. Taxing won't solve the problem. It's getting portrayed as, let's raise the income tax, and then we'll miraculously also lower our property tax.
Well, how much money can be raised by taking money from rich people? This is a conversation that we've had for years, that if you take the money from the 1%, you can pay for the 99%. That math doesn't work.
It absolutely doesn't work. And it doesn't work just on the existing budget, but if you look at what my opponent, challenger, has proposed and has been proposed in the General Assembly, $11 billion in new spending. And even if you phase that in over a couple of years, which some people said is what would happen, you can't get that from the top handful of earners, who, by the way, many of whom have choices where to live, and many will turn into a flood.
But don't you agree that the way that the system works now in the state of Illinois, flat tax, does cause inequities, where you'll have people who are earners who are making more money are not paying, quote unquote, their fair share.
Well, I'll say this. The states around us are flattening their taxes and lowering their taxes, and they're growing much faster than us, and they're running budget surpluses. The key for Illinois is to get on the positive cycle where economic growth is faster than government spending growth, and we're attracting businesses at such a rate that we don't have to raise taxes. In fact, we can lower taxes and still run budget surpluses. This is happening in Texas, it's Tennessee, Indiana, Wisconsin. The idea that, well, let's solve our budget problem and get more fairness by raising the income tax. You could look at the states who've done it. New Jersey, Connecticut, there's a long list. They can't balance their budgets. And it's because you haven't taken on the structural reasons for the imbalance between economic growth and government growth.
You mentioned business. There's news today that Sears is going to file Chapter 11. Now, the retail sector in and of itself has huge problems.
Yeah.
What do we do to help them?
Well, I tell you what we got to do is help the overall economic climate in Illinois. I'm honored. I've been endorsed by the Illinois Chamber, the Illinois Manufacturers, the National Federation of Independent Business, which is all the small business owners of Illinois, the Associated Builders and Contractors. I was honored. We were given the the Fletcher Award by the National Black Chamber of Commerce as the #1 elected official. I was called the elected official who's done more for black-owned business in America in the last 2 years. I am very pro-business because by being a job creators, we grow the economy faster, and that way we have balanced budgets, and we can actually reduce our tax burden on our working families. That's the change we need. I
don't want to make this about Pritzker because we got plenty of that on TV 24 hours a day. But have they messaged better than you? And here's why I ask, because I feel like there are accomplishments that you could talk about that you haven't talked about because a lot of it's response.
Yeah. So the fact is I've been outspent 4-1.
But is it the messaging? Specifically the messaging?
Part of it's the content. Part of it's just the volume. I'll say that we have had huge accomplishments. And when I put them out there, people often have ignored them. I've talked about it's incredible what we've done in education, in healthcare, in criminal justice, in reforming government. We've done some wonderful things, but most people respond. The reason negative ads get used in politics?
Because they work.
They work. It's a tragedy, but they work.
Well, and that's why everybody's got to show up to vote. Whoever you support, Samber.
So you were talking about the state finally having a budget, and a lot of the time while you were first started, you were working try to get something done there. Are the people down in Springfield now, you said now this is the time where we can do the slower growing planning to make changes. Are these people equipped to get that done down there? Because, to put it in business terms, if you're going to sell your company, you assemble a board of directors that get the company ready to be sold. We were working in a no budget type of time where the people in there may not be the right people to make slow change. You know what I mean?
Why do we give you guys more money but you don't spend it right? That's what it comes down to.
No, that's fair. Well, we're going to have a lot of new members of the General Assembly after this election, and the ones who are certainly coming back, and there are a fair number that I know. They realize that much of what I'm advocating for, much of what Illinois needs, is not partisan. It's not about D's versus R's. The Democrats in Massachusetts did the health care reform for their government employees that I'm recommending. They did the workers' comp reform for their businesses that I'm recommending. Democrats in Rhode Island did much of the pension reform that I'm recommending, and Democrats in California have taken on and done term limits and fair maps. These are not partisan issues. That's the reason I'm optimistic but we've got to work for them. We can't just give up. And my opponent has never talked about any of those issues to any material degree. He's talked about tax increases on income and driving, and $11 billion of new spending. Turn out the lights if that's what we do. I mean, the flood out of the state will be astronomical.
How are you going to work with the city better, whoever the new mayor is? Because you and Rahm Emanuel were friends, business partners in certain ways before he won the mayor's office. And then not so much. Yeah. I believe for the state to operate effectively, the governor's office and the mayor's office in Chicago have to work together. What are you going to do?
Yeah, so you're right. I was longtime friends with the mayor. I'm still fond of him. I'm disappointed in some of his decisions, and frankly, when he got in trouble with the McDonald video, and really after that he was a different place. He just was not the same, and reforms kind of went out the window after that. That made it tough for me, and so we got at odds on some key points. I'm excited about the mayoral race. I look forward to working with the new mayor. Many of the
clean
candidates,
slate.
Absolutely, and many of the candidates I know very well, and I like them quite a bit.
You want to pick one?
Not today.
All right. We need you for a couple more minutes. We'll take a break, come back. We got a couple more questions for you, and then we'll let you go and run around the state again.
Great.
Governor Rauner's here. He, for really an unknown reason, has decided he wants to be governor for some more. And again, the website for the campaign, because it's different than the governor's office, is
BruceRauner.com.
The biggest mistake you made in the last 4 years, and here's the reason I ask, is because I saw the president not answer this question last night.
Oh, I have two things that I would do differently. One is to focus very much on lots of baby step improvements and announcing them, playing them up more than we've done. That would number one. And number two, I would have been much more focused with my time on communications. I spent my time doing, not communicating. I would do far more on communicating.
You talked just in the last segment about the partisan nature of our country, and just the way that even the state of Illinois is a very partisan divide when it comes to politics here. When I think of examples of that, I think of your turnaround agenda. I think of what happened in the last 4 years without a budget, and you coming in and saying, you know what, we're doing this, and everyone else get out of the way. And the Democrats are part of the problem as well for entrenching. But it seems like that was more partisan than you seem to be letting on. That seemed to Illinois residents to be the ultimate in partisanship.
Yeah, I would say certain of those pieces, I laid out a 44-point plan. Like if we did all 44, Illinois would be on a rocket ship. I knew we weren't going to get 44. I didn't even think we were going to get 8. I proposed 5 out of the 44. And we battled and we got pieces of those 5. But what's so interesting to me is that the changes we need, Democrats have done in other states. That's the critical thing that I need everybody in the state to understand. Democrats in other states have done term limits. They've done fair maps. Democrats in other states have done major pension reform. Rhode Island is the leading example. The Democratic caucus can vote their conscience more than what they're voting the directive from their boss. Many good things will happen. And
do you believe you can get more legislation through the House?
Absolutely. No question in my mind. I'm spending a lot of time with members of the General Assembly, and they know in private they agree with most of what I'm trying to do. They know we need it. They know that taxing isn't going to solve the problem, and we need to change. Change is scary. Certain special interest groups don't like it, but they're willing to stand up, I think, more and more to the Speaker.
The far right and the far left, as I've always said, are not the solution. They're the problem. So what do you say to folks in the middle?
I say for all of us in the middle, and I consider myself very much a centrist, and it's very hard to hold the middle, especially today in America's politics and in Illinois politics. Frankly, we are as divided as any state in the country, radically divided by left and right. The nation is radically divided, and I say persistence. We can't give up. Don't give up. Get out and vote. Hold the middle, find common ground, work together on both sides of the aisle, and we can get things done. We'll get good things done.
Sometimes you're guilty by association, party-wise. If somebody's not pleased with, say, the president, then if you fall in line, are associated with that party, you get thrown out with the bathwater. There.
Sure.
So
that's just part of it. That's true.
But what's the compelling argument to those people? What's the thing to say? I struggle trying to, when I explain to people, go out and vote. But I need more than that. I need a...
Yeah, why does the vote matter?
Why does it matter? Yeah.
Oh, boy, every vote matters. I mean, these elections tend to be very, very narrowly decided, and every citizen's vote is critically important. The reality is our nation's been divided, I think, in large part because of the gerrymandering that's gone on across the country. Each party has done it. This is not a one side or the other. And it's corroded our democracy, because if a district is drawn really for only Republicans or only Democrats, which has happened devastatingly in Illinois and around the country, then only the most radical members of that party can win the primary, and then whoever wins the primary wins the general, because the other party can't even play in that district, and so you get radicalized parties. That's happened across the country.
Quick one.
Yeah, just what's the road to victory when you have third-party candidates that are representing issues in the Republican Party, conservatives and libertarians? How do you overcome the fact that that the party seems to be split in this election?
Well, I strongly believe this election will not be about conservative versus liberal or R versus D. This is about the people against a very, very broken political system that's it's run by one individual. It's funded by my opponent, and that system is clearly failed us for 35 years. And I hope and believe when people go into the polling booth, they'll understand that voting for my opponent means going back to the same policies that got us into this mess. Even though we haven't got as enough done as I want or most anybody in the state wants, what we can't do is give up. We can't give up and just, hey, let's just raise taxes. Let's have $11 billion in new spending. And if we get gerrymandered districts again with the speaker in 2 years, oh well. No, don't give up. Let's never back down. Let's work hard together and keep working for change.
It's Governor Rauner. We appreciate you coming in, as always. And kids, remember Schoolhouse Rock. You've got to have the House, the Senate, and the executive branch of the state of government to get anything done. Mr. Madigan has been a block, but I have a feeling that you two are going to kumbaya this together if you win again.
I really think we're going to get good things done in my second term. I'm very, very optimistic.
What, a box of candy or something? What's he like? And take him out for a nice breakfast?
We will definitely be having meals together, no question.
Governor, I appreciate it. Nice to see you.
Steve, great to be with you guys.
Get out and vote November 6th, and it's BruceRauner.com.
Great. Thanks much.
All right, all the best.